Kenya's Interior Minister, has condemned the nationwide protests on Wednesday as an attempted coup against the government. In a televised speech, Kipchumba Murkomen said the unrest was not a protest but terrorism disguised as dissent. Human rights groups in Kenya say at least 16 people were killed, mostly from gunshot wounds. Amnesty International and other civil society groups say at least 400 people were injured, with around 80 of them in critical condition. Thousands of people took to the streets on Wednesday, calling for not just an end to police brutality, but for accountability from security forces, which they say has long gone unchecked.
We are here as the young generation we want a complete overhaul of the system. The system is rotten, the system is wrong, and we want a complete overhaul. We shall speak, we will not be afraid, and we will turn up when it is needed.
So today we are here, it's a peaceful march to represent those we lost, and we're here to also cry out for justice for them.
We're here to remember the lives lost of the young kids that came to just express their discontent with the state of governance in our country and the greed and the corruption. And that's what Reject Finance Bill really was about last year. So just to honor their lives and to continue their fight to resist the oppression of this regime.
We condemn this excessive use of force. We believe that the police could have handled themselves with restraint. It wasn't necessary to kill so many Kenyans across the country. And this is the problem we find ourselves in. You come out to protest police killings and they kill even more. So we feel there is still a long way to go, and we call for justice for all those who were killed.
It is now clear that there was no protest, it was chaos, anarchy. Parliament was being targeted and State House was being targeted. Those who planned this chaos had a very premeditated plan. They shared that plan, including online, and the plan was to take the symbols of authority and democracy, our symbols of democracy in the Republic, which is Parliament and State House, to make sure that they show that they have achieved some sort of a regime change.
Well, for more of this, let's speak now to the Kenyan journalist Dan Maiche, who joins me on the line from Nairobi. Dan, thanks very much indeed for joining us. First of all, how are things on the ground in Nairobi? Have things calmed down?
First, thank you for having me from Nairobi. Like what you asked, Nairobi is it has been tense the whole of today, but things are a little bit calm as of today, as opposed to yesterday. Yesterday it was chaotic and hectic.
Just following up on that, I mean, I suppose it would not be an exaggeration to say that, or to at least describe that yesterday as a violent day. 16 people dead, and all of them from gunshot wounds. I mean, how did it come to that?
Unlike other days, the protests began very early in the morning at around 8. Then at around 9:30, the police started firing tear gas canisters to the protesters. That is when the police started using canisters, batons on protesters. Then at around 1 p.m., it looked like the cops were going to be overwhelmed. I think from that time, it is when they started using live bullets, because as of around 2 p.m., there are no reports of death. Save for one incident in a county called Makueni in the eastern side of the country, where a protester had been shot and killed. But in Nairobi, where majorly most of the death had been reported, as of around 2 p.m., there were no reported deaths. But the moment there was a declaration from the Communication Authority of Kenya to shut down the live broadcasts, that is when most of the killings happened. Because the nation, there was a total blackout, save for the few people who are streaming online on their YouTube channels, on their TikTok accounts. But most likely what happened, most of the killings that happened, most likely it happened just after there was a ban on the live broadcast. 3 media houses were taken off air: KTN, NTV, and K24. Citizen, which is a leading media house in Kenya, avoided and adhered to the ban that had been announced by the Communication Authority in Kenya. So most likely the killings happened during on the moment the government announced that no one is allowed to broadcast the live happenings from all over the country. Bearing in mind that the protests were happening in around 27 counties, that is almost 3/4 of the country. And from the evening, from around 3 p.m., that is when the protests turned chaotic. That is when the police officers started using live ammunition.
And the government has been giving its readout of what happened yesterday. I think it was the Interior Minister, Kipchumba Murkomen. What did he have to say?
Whatever, the government is trying to play its book, saying that the chaos or the protest was organized politically. I've been covering protests close to over 10 years. I've covered most of the protests in this country, beginning last year when the Gen Zs went on the streets protesting about the finance bill. Last week, they're on the streets. On Tuesday and on Thursday, they were protesting about the police brutality. On Thursday, goons came to the streets with batons. Most of my colleagues lost their equipment. Many were injured. Some of us were whisked away. Then came yesterday. We didn't expect to see cops trying to go head on with the protesters. Maybe we were overthinking about the whole situation. The government had planned. When we woke up yesterday morning, we found the government had barricaded all the roads leading to State House and the areas around the parliament. The government is trying to play the playbook of someone is trying to hire protesters, like what Kipchumba Murkomen said. They alleging that protesters were hired from the central part of the country, trying to pin the protests on the opposition leaders. Something that has not been received well by most of the young people who took part in the protest, because now it looks like it is taking the tribal lens falling under the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who was this evening refuted the claims that he financed the protests. The government is trying to pin this one on the opposition leaders, while the opposition leaders say we did not take part in any of whatever that is happening. This is on you. You failed to listen to these young people. You had a whole year to work on some of the issues they raised, issues surrounding bad governance, issues surrounding accountability, police brutality. As we speak, there's a young man who was shot in the head while hawking masks in the streets of Nairobi on Thursday last week. He's in the ICU, where a bullet was removed from his brain at the Kenyatta National Hospital. The government has not said anything yet the family is saying the government is trying to managing the situation, because the demonstration in which this young man was shot, Boniface Kariuki, it was at the backdrop of issues of police brutality. A young man was picked from his father's home in the countryside of Western Kenya in Homa Bay. Then he was transferred to Nairobi. Then he was beaten up in a police cell and killed. You see, it has been a whole year where most of these young people expected that the government might address some of the issues they raised, but now the government has come up with a statement saying that the young people are trying to plot a coup against a legitimate government of President William Ruto. Something that most of the young people have been going through the Twitter, the X, most of the comments I'm trying to see around. It is
Okay,
they are trying
Dan,
to.
I've got to come in there because I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're almost out of time. I mean, just very briefly, how big a challenge is this for the government?
It is a big challenge, bearing in mind that we are going into an election in less than 24 months. It is going to be a big challenge for President William Ruto to get a second term in office, bearing in mind that Kenya, the biggest percentage of Kenyans, about 60% are youth below 35 years old. This is not going to be easy because the government tried to calm the situation by bringing on board the former opposition leader Raila Odinga. But since then, the protests have carried on. The young people continue pushing on for the good governance, accountability, fight on graft, and then now the issue of police brutality. You can imagine in a single day, over 16 people have died. According to Amnesty International, over 700 people were hospitalized, many injured, some are still in hospital until now.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Dan, for bringing us up to date. And I do hope things calm down and stay calm going forward. Dan Maiche is a journalist. He was talking to me on the line there from Nairobi.